If you play in a Dynasty fantasy league, who should you be panicking about and possibly selling this offseason? We're about to tell you. Let's talk about DeAndre Swift. Is this the guy that we're really going to cut bait on right now?
DeAndre Swift is so tough to gauge in Dynasty because on the one hand, we know what he can do and what his talent is. Saw it even in stretches this year, even when he wasn't getting a ton of usage, he was able to put up big fantasy games. And earlier in the year, before I guess he got banged up, it looked like he might truly be a league winner this year. But you have to wonder, was it just injury or was it something else? This coaching staff really seemed to like Jamal Williams. They seem to like Justin Jackson for some reason. Jamal Williams is a free agent, but he's probably going to be back because the team wants him back. He wants to be back. I'm sure they'll make it work. He will be back. So what do you do with DeAndre Swift? You don't really want to sell him right now because you're probably selling him low, but you probably don't want to be going out trying to buy him either because what if this is it? What if we just get stuck with another year of this DeAndre Swift? Yes, if you could buy low, I would buy low, but I don't know if you really can buy low on DeAndre Swift. So to me, I think he's just a hold and pray, but certainly have to be feeling a little nervous going into next year.
He's someone who I think will constantly be defended and rationalize everything that happens. People will always have a perception of what they think he will be or is going to be versus what he actually is. I'm not talking about pure physical talent. That's not deniable, his ability, his potential, but potential doesn't put points on the board. Ability only means so much if you're not used. I'm looking at the fact that nothing's going to change next year. Like you said, this coaching staff is the same. They already said they're probably keeping Jared Goff, which is fine. He was fine this year. Jamal Williams, no, he's not going to leave. He just set the Lions record for scoring touchdowns and everybody loves him. Here's the issue with Swift. Dan Campbell openly said that he was being overused earlier in the season. That's why he kept getting hurt. All of a sudden, they're just going to start throwing him out there for, 20 plus touches a game? I don't think so. I think they like their little 1-2 punch here. We're going to see a lot of the same thing. He is going to probably give you the exact same that he gave you this past year. I just don't think he is ever going to exceed what he's been doing so far. And that leads me to Clyde Edwards-HelaireNTASY, who for years people have been trying to build into the next Maurice Jones-Drew, the next LaDainian Tomlinson. It's pretty clear it's not happening, but there's also some more reason now to worry about CEH.
This is a player I think you should be in full-fledged panic mode in Dynasty because A, he hasn't really gotten it done in fantasy anyways, hasn't lived up to expectations, but B, he was pretty much outperformed by not one, but two running backs on his same team this year, Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon, and we saw it even last year with Darrell Williams. Remember down the stretch when Clyde Edwards-HelaireNTASY came back from his injury, they still used Darrell Williams quite a bit. They used Jerick McKinnon in the playoffs. Does not seem like the Chiefs believe in Clyde Edwards-HelaireNTASY at all. Can't imagine a scenario where he rebounds next year and pays off anything close to value. And then after that, you're banking on him leaving in free agency and going to a better situation. That's always a very risky proposition. I don't know what you can get for Clyde Edwards-HelaireNTASY right now, but I would sell low on him if I had to. I don't see a path to Clyde Edwards-HelaireNTASY being fantasy relevant. He might be relevant to the point where it's like, well, I have no better options, I can throw him in, but he's not going to be a guy you start week in and week out. I would definitely be trying to move him if at all possible.
I'm not going to rehash all the reasons why I'm not and have never been into Edwards-HelaireNTASY. You've already mentioned they have already a younger, better model in Isaiah Pacheco, who can do all the things that CEH really hasn't done. And then Jerick McKinnon, he does everything that Clyde Edwards-HelaireNTASY was supposed to do and is doing it better. CEH ain't it. I mean, he's still going to be on the team next year, but is the number 2 or 3 back? There's just no reason to be holding on to him at this point. Now, here's an interesting one. Usually wide receivers are pretty solid, hold in Dynasty, especially when they're not too old. Courtland Sutton, what do we make of him? Because look, there's going to be a new coaching staff. Maybe Russ gets back to what he has been. Why do you think Sutton is someone we should really be worried about?
I think the real issue here is Russell Wilson. Even if things are better next year with Russell Wilson, which you have to believe they're going to be better because, again, like that coaching staff, can it really be worse? I don't think we're going to see prime Russell Wilson ever again. Maybe we could see good Russell Wilson again, but is that really enough to make Courtland Sutton as valuable as he was going into last offseason? Remember, going into last offseason in Dynasty, his value had gone way up because they had just gone out and gotten Russell Wilson. But we saw how that turned out. Russell Wilson wasn't it at all this year. And it's hard to imagine Russell Wilson making a huge leap next year. I think Sutton maybe is okay in Dynasty. He's still somewhat young. Maybe the offense will get a little better, but just not a lot of upside here. Not a lot to get excited for. I think at this point, what I would be doing if I had Courtland Sutton, I would be waiting for them to bring in a coach. Hopefully it's Sean Payton or somebody, maybe Dan Quinn, somebody who's going to really make people believe that Russell Wilson could be saved, and then go trade Courtland Sutton while his value goes up again going into next season.
Yeah, Sutton's an interesting case because I don't expect him to necessarily be worse than this year, but I don't really expect him to be marginally better either. And you mentioned Dan Quinn. That's a name that might be great for the team. It's not going to be great for that offense. Quinn is a defensive-minded coach, and this is a franchise really right now. The strength of that team is their defense. They were still really good. Russell Wilson is fine, but he's not going to put up big numbers anymore, and he probably won't be asked to. I think we're going to see them probably scale down the passing, especially those big air yard, those plays downfield. That should be Sutton's forte. I also noticed that down the stretch those last few weeks, it was really Jerry Jeudy who kind of came on and started to become relevant more. And maybe he becomes the number one guy here and Sutton's just a supplemental piece. If you have somebody who thinks that Sutton will bounce back and is going to buy into him for next year as a riser, then I might take advantage of that and look for somebody else who's younger, who has a little bit more upside. And then a player who's going to be talked about a lot this offseason, and that is Kyle Pitts. Could be the top tight end in Dynasty, arguably, if it ever comes together. Will it come together? And are you still worried?
I mean, I think you have to be a little bit worried. We haven't really seen it the first 2 years. Remember, Kyle Pitts, when he came out of the draft, in 1 QB Dynasty leagues, he was the number 1 pick, rookie pick in some leagues. I saw him go number 1 in many leagues. I saw him go number 1 in Superflex leagues. It was crazy, the hype for Kyle Pitts. So if you spent top 3 rookie pick on Kyle Pitts, you have not gotten anything close to return on your investment so far. And going into next year, there's still a lot of uncertainty here for the Falcons. Who's going to be the quarterback? It's still going to be Arthur Smith. It's still going to be a run-heavy team. It's going to be a team that doesn't have a lot of targets for the pass catchers. But with all that said, Kyle Pitts is still an elite prospect. Tight ends in the NFL take time. It's not like a running back or a wide receiver who can just step in and be off and running year one. The tight end position takes time to develop. So for me, Kyle Pitts, not panicking on him yet in Dynasty. I'm not selling Kyle Pitts. And if I can, I will buy low on Kyle Pitts. Even if it's another year or two, upside is potentially Travis Kelce at the start of his reign of dominating the tight end position, and that is worth gambling on.
Is this really a passing offense that took off under Ritter? If he's still the quarterback next year, how excited can you get about Pitts? If it is a rookie, if they wind up taking a quarterback in the draft, how excited can you get about Pitts? Now, what can we assume we're getting out of this passing offense? Thing is, maybe it's not just a quarterback situation, but this offense, it's a run-heavy, run-first offense. Just don't know if there's going to be enough targets around to make Pitts an elite tight end. Yes, he'll still be really good. Yes, you probably want to hold him in Dynasty because right now you'd be selling low. I'll say that right now, Pitts is a guy that I don't necessarily think that the breakout is coming yet. I thought it would be this coming year, but based on the state of the Falcons, I'm just not sure. It might take even more time. Those are some players in Dynasty that we're panicking about, but who are we feeling really good about? These are some guys who might be skyrocketing in value for Dynasty. Check out this video right here to find out.